Hi crafters, it's Whitney with Crafty Creations. Today we're going to be doing a little experiment with Copics and watercolor pencils and the different kind of inks that you're going to need. So to start off, you're going to need Memento ink, Tuxedo Black, Distress ink, Black Soot, and StazOn ink. And you're also going to need some watercolor pencils, and this is just my Copic markers in an easy to grab bin. Okay, so you're going to need just one watercolor brush, and that's going to help with your watercolor pencils. And so it just holds the water in the well down in the tip, and it's really quite nice. So you can get these at Stampin' Up. It comes 2 in a pack. And there I didn't show you, but you're going to need tissue to kind of dab off the black off of your stamp. So this is an Inkadinkado stamp. It's a kitten hanging off of a Christmas ball, and the sentiment says naughty or nice. I just think it is so cute, and I love working with these little stamps. Really nice to make 3x3 cards with. So there's that. Really cute. Okay, so here I have just the types of paper that I'm going to be using. I have regular cardstock, and the other one that I'm showing, that's a like a strip that was to a card base, but we're not going to be using that. And then watercolor paper and Bristol paper. The difference here, the watercolor paper has this rough kind of tooth to it that holds that water really well, and then the Bristol board is really smooth and soft. Both are cold press, and you can get both at Hobby Lobby. Right now they're actually running a 40% off sale on those, so really good deal on that. Okay, so the next thing that you're going to need is an ink block, a stamp block. And what I started using is actually the Cuttlebug embossing folders, the matte pads for that. I like how they work and hold my images, and I really like them for larger prints, but I couldn't find my small block, so I just used a large mat for it. It worked, sort of. You're going to see here that when I stamp it, my table, it's layered in canvas, and underneath it's not very even. Okay, so yeah, that's where I hit that uneven mark, and it was quite annoying because this is my first video in a long time, and I have almost forgotten all the tricks of the trade. So I just reached in the back and grabbed a whole bunch of papers, a paper stack, and put it underneath the table, underneath my mat. But it ended up not being enough. Usually I have like a huge stack of paper, but I didn't think it really mattered. Oh well. So there's that cute little stamp, and I am stamping that with StazOn ink, and because I messed up on that, I tried to go back over it with my stamp. That's the beauty of clear stamps, but it just was not working with that uneven spot. See, I'm feeling that uneven spot on my table. So I decided to start moving down. That's typically where I work anyway, is like really close to me. I was trying to work far enough away where the camera could pick it up, where you guys could see it, but oh well. Okay, so here I am just stamping it, and it actually gives it a better, crisper image here. It's amazing what even surfaces do. Okay. So cute. Okay, the next one that I'm going for is the Distress ink, Tim Holtz. I really like to use them as as like an ink alone instead of a distress ink, but sometimes it doesn't work because they're water soluble. So it depends on what you're using them with. Okay, and the next one is Tuxedo Black, Memento ink. And I love that. I didn't even have to press very hard. That pad was really juicy, worked really well. It's actually one of my favorite inks to use right now. Alright, so I'm going to speed this up and show you the finished product. What I'm going to do is use a blue Copic marker just to go over the whole thing. And this is how I test to see if my paper actually can work well with my Copic markers. So I'm just showing you the cats. Doesn't really matter. But I'm going to speed this up and show you what the Copics look like on that. And I just scribble over the front of it to see if it smears or if it holds up or if it bleeds through the paper. Okay, here I'm finished. And what I've noticed is the stays on, smears a little bit. The lines get really dark. And what I showed you was the distress ink. Actually, it held up, but it kind of, the lines started to blur, and I didn't really like that very much. And then the last one, Memento ink, held up the best on the cardstock. It kept a really thin line, a good impression, and the ink did not bleed through and didn't smear the lines. Okay, so now I'm going to the watercolor paper, and the watercolor paper has a tooth to it, meaning it holds the water in and helps absorb it. This is an 8x8 pad, 140-pound paperweight. It is a cold press surface. I didn't know if I told you that yet or not. But here goes my stays on. Okay, what I'm going to do to color on it is just take my watercolor pencils and do kind of like an outline of the Christmas balls on each of the Christmas balls, and then kind of color in the cat a little bit. I really, really like watercolor pencils. It gives such a great look without even having to shade. Really, it's my new favorite technique for coloring in images. So here I'm just kind of coloring that and getting them all ready. And then I will take my watercolor brush and just no rhyme or reason go over it and do the smear test with that too. So I'll speed that part up. So here's what I found, that the Stays On ink did really well in holding up with the watercolor pencils. The Distress ink smeared terribly, and so did the Memento ink, but I actually really use the Memento ink on my watercolor papers, but as you can see, stays on, gives it a really crisp look. So I really advise you to use Stays On ink if you don't already have it. Okay, so the last color test is on the Bristol board, and what I'm actually doing with the Bristol board, it makes an excellent cardstock for cards, and if you want a really heavyweight paper. It's also a cold press. It's actually under my mat right now, so I can't tell you the weight on that, but I'm going to do 6 impressions of each. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp the image 6 times, and then I'm going to go back and color them with Copics and watercolor pencil. Okay, here we are close to the very end, and I wanted to tell you that on the Distress ink for the Bristol board, I started coloring it in, but it became black, and so did the Memento ink. Because Distress ink is water soluble, it's activated with water, of course it's going to smear, but I wanted to show you what it would look like. The Stays On, actually on the Bristol board, it smudges really terrible. The Distress ink worked wonderfully with the Copic markers, and the Memento ink smeared a little bit, not too much, but you could tell that the lines were kind of not the best, not the crispest. Okay, so down here with the watercolor pencils, the Stays On worked amazing with the Bristol board. Lines stayed crisp and all that stuff. So that's what I was talking about, where the Distress and the Memento ink with the watercolor pencils kind of turned black. So the Stays On is your best bet. Okay, so we have 3 types of paper. The first one is just your regular, not necessarily, it's lighter than cardstock, but it can be used for cardstock. Memento ink worked the best with that, with Copic. Stays On with the watercolor paper worked the best. Really good image. So each type of paper has its own look, and you really have to choose which kind that you want. Again, I'm just using the Naughty or Nice Inkadinkadoo. Super cute. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.